Now, guys, I am delighted to say that I am joined by a very special guest on the show this week. He's an Irish actor, an avid golfer, and an overall Irish legend. I'm, of course, joined by James Nesbitt. James, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Johnny, great to see me. You obviously spoke dulcet tones to me when I met you quite late at night in Mount Juliet, and here we are.
Yes, we met at the Irish Open on the Pro-Am day. I think first things first, we got to talk about the big win on that day, which was, of course, yourself, Robbie Keane, John O'Shea. You guys stormed home the win.
Well, I don't think we stormed it. I mean, it's such an extraordinary thing. I played in a few Pro-Ams. It was a very unusual situation, and I actually had the lowest handicap of the celebs, so to speak. Robbie's taken it up quite recently. He was 18. John is 15. My handicap, as I'm sure we'll come to at some stage, has changed somewhat over the while, over the last month or so. But you know, it's terrifying. I've played in a lot of things, but funnily enough, at the Irish Pro-Ams, the crowds are always much bigger than anywhere else. I mean, they're as big as they are at like Dunhill, and Dunhill's huge. I mean, you know, and when I arrived on the and it's such a beautiful place, Mount Juliet. I'd never been there before. The drive down was just gorgeous. I drove down from Belfast. I happened to be over here at the time. But just driving into Killarney and the rolling hills, and then you arrive there, it really is magnificent. And yet that kind of ancient beauty is kind of collides with, you know, all these professional golfers and you know, and great Irish, very well known people. And but it's nerve wracking. And in fact, I didn't see you probably until the night of Pro-Am, I think. But when we walked down, because I'm always far too nervous to go even on the range at Pro-Ams.
Really?
Because, because I just can't bear the idea of. I didn't realise that there was a kind of a range for the boys like me. Because if you go and if you go to other things, often you're playing beside professionals, and it's just, I mean, the horror is too much for me. So I arrived on the tee feeling incredibly nervous, and I walked on and I saw Robbie, and I know Robbie a bit, and I've met Robbie a few times. John I know because I'm a big United fan. But I walked onto the tee and Robbie just grabbed me and he said, "Oh my God, why have I agreed to this?" And it was Robbie's first. Oh, so wow. I said I always feel like this, and then immediately we were into an interview and we were facing down the first. I finished the interview and then I realised my lace was untied, so I kind of turned to tie my lace, tied it, looked up, and the stand behind the first tee was packed. So it was nerve wracking. But I have to say, John went first, and he there's a big tree on the left. He caught that. Robbie did well, but I absolutely crushed it. And one of the great moments of my life. Forget anything else I've achieved in acting. That was a great moment. And then actually I hit my second to about 8 feet, but I hadn't been on the putting green, and the yips I got were beyond yips. But we did well, and we all came in, and on the last, actually we played. There was a new format this year at the Irish, so we had two pros, front nine and back nine. We had Marcus Armitage, who the day before had just qualified for the Open, and then we had Alvaro Quiroz, and it was tremendous, great crowds, great fun. And on the last, actually, which is it's a long out par 4, but Alvaro hits it a mile, and it's Texas, it's a scramble. So obviously we hit his drive, and but the only person to score on the last at any point was me, and that was the point that won it on count back. So even though I had a bad front nine, I like to think that I brought it home.
That's brilliant. That's a fantastic story. Tell me, in those events, do you ever not take the pros drive?
Nowadays, oh no, sometimes actually, because often, particularly with Armitage and Quiroz, a couple of times they would go a wee bit. They're long but can be erratic.
Sure.
And a couple of times actually, I think we all came in taking some of our drives. O'Shea hits it a mile. When he hits it straight, he hits it a mile. I mean, both the pros were going, "Oh my God!" I mean, he's a big lad, John. You know, I mean, sometimes he can be a bit astray. But when he hits it long, and so we took his a couple, but it was great. And we all, as I say, we all came in. And actually, you know, it was, we're all competitive in our own ways. I mean, it's not only sports people that are competitive, and I'm lucky to know an awful lot of sports people in my life. through the fortune I've had in my career. And the one thing that defines, I think, people in almost, or well, not doesn't define them, but it certainly separates them, is the sense of competition. And I've always had it all my life. Now that's not like, so you do want to win, and I suppose that's kind of been part of my longevity in acting in a way. It's not just it's you just want to be kind of like at it, and not to kind of beat other people out of a job, but if you're being paid, a fair amount of money, and if people are taking a punt on you to kind of be a leading man in something, you have to want to step up to it. And so much is about attitude. Funny enough, I've learned more about attitude from Alex Ferguson than I have from any director or anything, and those boys have it in spades. So we were delighted. I mean, I have to say we were absolutely delighted that we won.
We might go back in a moment and chat about how you got into acting and into golf. But Marcus, what's he like? I've heard he's a great character, and obviously he must have been in flying form given the day before qualifying for the Open.
Well, they were both, because Marcus is, I think he's won one Sun Tour.
Yeah.
But he's from a, pretty tough old background. Like, I think Robbie. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I think a lot of these people are. I mean, it hasn't all been. It's not that like they're born in. I mean, into kind of money. It's not like they were handed a golf club. As they, their christening. I mean, I think they had to fight for. Marcus was brilliant, really helpful, funny, dry, but competitive. I mean, and Alvaro as well. Alvaro's won 7 times in tour. The most gorgeous man you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, just beautiful. They both hit it a mile. I mean, Alvaro has not played well for a while, and he's, by his own admission, and he's going through a lot of stuff. He's kind of remodeled his swing. Yeah, they give a lot of time to us, but they're, I suppose you have to be very kind of sanguine about your life in a way to live the lives that they do. Because I mean, there's such a misconception, I suppose, about golfers that everything is done for them, that they're kind of just traveling around. I mean, these guys have to, they have to battle for their cars. They have to battle for invitations, but they were so. I think they recognised in the three of us because it's very easy, and I've played with a lot of some of the great players of all time. I've played with Ernie Els. I played with Shane Lowry twice. I played with Tommy Fleetwood. I played with Justin Rose. But all of them, never minding at what level of success they are, they're incredibly generous because they understand just what golf means to people like us. And so they were great. No, really great.
So it sounds like you've definitely had a fair bit of pro-am experience, but take me back to how you first got into golf in the first place.
I took it up late, Johnny. I mean, really late. I mean, I played. So I was born in County Antrim, in a very, very rural part of County Antrim, outside Brashear. My father was my school headmaster. I played a lot of football. I played a lot of soccer.
That's where the Manchester United love came from. Then.
Yeah. Well, Dad got me into. I mean, Dad loved best. I mean, Dad kind of didn't really follow a team, but he loved best. Like,
of course,
who didn't? I was a bit young. I'm born in '65, but I saw best play. I mean, in fact, I sort of when George died, I was asked by the Independent to write a fan's obituary. And I prefaced it by saying I didn't see him much, but I did see him play for Northern Ireland. I once saw him score a hat-trick for Northern Ireland against Cyprus in a friendly. And so both of these occasions I'd have been about 5, and George had already scored 2. And towards the end, Northern Ireland got a corner. And I think Sammy Mack might have been playing his first game, I'm not sure. But someone went to take the corner, and George took the ball off and turned around to the spy on cop and went 3 and scored direct from the corner. And then I was I was at the game where George took the ball out of Gordon Banks' hand against Northern Ireland against England at Windsor Park. Scored the goal. The goal was disallowed. And when I wrote the obituary, I said that maybe it's only in my mind's eye, but I absolutely know that when that happened and when the referee disallowed the goal, and George kind of like shrugged his shoulders in this thing of disappointment, couldn't believe, because he knew he had just done the most balletic thing, because he had studied Gordon Banks, and Gordon Banks just threw the ball high up in the air. George had kind of balletically lifted it over him and scored. But I always knew that I was pressed against the Spion Cop fence behind it with my father. And so I'd written that. And then on the Saturday, this was and it wasn't long into the invention of Sky Plus and stuff. On the Saturday, they did an obituary on Football Focus on the BBC about George's life. And they showed that goal, and I was able to stop it, rewind it, play it again, rewind it again. And there you see, and I have it at home framed, just as George finds out the goal's disallowed, you see in the background the top of the little boy's head, and beside him his father with my dad's hat on, looking around the wing. Brilliant. my two heroes in one shot.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So your dad got you into football, was it first?
Into football, yeah, football, and then that was it. Football was everything, because I grew up, as I say, I grew up in the country with 3 older sisters, and my dad taught in a primary school of 40, so I did nothing but kick a ball against a wall, really, and all the other children were farmers' children. But Dad kind of opened up windows into in all sorts of things for him. But then we moved to a bigger place. We moved to Coleraine, and I got to know friends, my best friends. So 46 years ago, I met Peter Ludlow, Alan Harton, and Alistair Carson, who are still my best friends 46 years later. They've done rather well out of me, actually. But they played golf, and I suppose, but it was really about, because I suppose my background always kind of didn't really suggest golf somehow, because it was golf seemed a wee bit more elitist or something, or separate. But I started playing it a bit, and then it was only really in the last 20 years I started to play it a lot. And then I now live in Portrush, more or less, because my girls are growing up, and I'm either in Portrush or Belfast or occasionally London. And I joined Portrush a number of years ago. But I've been playing in kind of pro-ams and things like that for about 10 to 15 years. So I've had great times with it, and I've been very, very fortunate. I mean, as I say, I played with some incredible people, but it's nerve-wracking. I mean, if you're playing at the Dunhill or the BMW, the players are kind to you, but the crowd aren't.
That's unfortunately very true. So you mentioned that when you were growing up that you had the idea that golf was probably not that opening or not that welcoming sport. Did you have any experience with that, or was that just something that you had thought?
Oh, really? I mean, I think one had thought it, but also, I mean, all you had to do was look at that. My father was very progressive in the sense, even though I'm from a traditionally, I suppose, kind of Protestant background in County Antrim. Dad was very progressive. My sisters and I went to the convent to learn the piano at my sister's weddings, and Dad tried to do that to send out a message that we had to embrace everything. But I mean, you watched golf and you couldn't help but think. Also, it was kind of, it didn't seem that. It seemed daunting to me. It seemed expensive to me. And then also, even at an early age, I kind of thought, well, where's the diversity? But then a lot of the time you were thinking, where's the diversity in Northern Ireland? But actually, I think there's been so much movement in that now, and I think there's so much encouragement. I think it's important that every kid's given the opportunity to play golf. And then, of course, because I mean, when I was younger, I mean, Christy O'Connor was when I first read, because I watched sport from a very early age. So it wasn't I didn't watch golf. I'd watched tractor racing when I was young. I'd watch any sport. I mean, because that was everything to me. And so I loved the notion of it, and I loved the kind of stories or the heroes. I mean, I suppose I was quite old when Christy, hit the 2-iron, the Ryder Cup. But also I remember Eddie Paulin. He was a Northern Irish player. And he had Faraday and stuff. And then, of course, when Darren came along, and Darren's my age, but then, when I moved up there and started playing golf, the idea that Rory came along, all of a sudden it was just, and I got to know him really quite well. And, golf is such an important part of Ireland, and particularly the North, from my point of view, because as the North continues to emerge from its past, golf has actually played quite a significant, golf and indeed my business have sort of, funnily enough, played quite a significant part in the involvement in the world's eyes of Northern Ireland. Oh my God, Game of Thrones is made there. Oh my God, they've got some of the best golfers in the world there.
Yeah, that's undeniably true. It's certainly both the perception of Northern Ireland and the perception of Northern Ireland golf over the years has improved immeasurably. To stick with you though, how did you first get into acting? Because I think we had Simon Delaney on the podcast last week, and he spoke about how he got into the game of acting, and it's not a traditional career choice.
I didn't realize he was an actor, actually, Sam. I know, I'm joking.
Jeez, we're throwing digs between episodes here.
Yeah. No, I sang a lot. My father used to take me. My dad was self-taught musically. And in fact, when we were at school, he, as I say, it was mostly farmers' children, but we all learned recorder and stuff, but also then my three older sisters all knew music. But I sang, and he used to take me around faces, particularly in the north of Ireland. And then when we moved to Coleraine, I'd never been in the theatre in my life, and I was actually playing rugby at school. I was just finishing a rugby game, and Dad grabbed me on a Saturday morning and said, "Right, we're going to the Riverside Theatre in Coleraine," which was attached to Ulster University. And there was a new company there, professional company, who were putting on a Christmas show, Oliver. So professional actors, but they wanted to use kids from the area. So there were auditions. I arrived late for it. But Dad found the director, because I've been playing rugby, and Dad found the director and persuaded him to let me audition. And I actually sang Bohemian Rhapsody, all the parts. I ended up playing the Artful Dodger. And it was, in retrospect, I mean, that's 44 years ago. But in retrospect, there must have been a moment I thought, when I first actually, 3 days later, all the kids at audition were together, and he just said, "Right, James, come with me." And he went, and he put the top hat on me and Artful Dodger's coat. And I think, in retrospect, there probably was a moment where I thought, all right, this might be kind of home in a way. But I continued to act for a while. I did Christmas shows. I got my equity card, which you used to need to act professionally, very, very young. But my parents say, well, you've got to go to uni. I dropped out, much to their chagrin. But then my dad.
I'm getting the sense that your family is obviously quite traditional in terms of your dad as a teacher. Even the community you grew up in, getting into acting might have been a bit left of center.
Yeah, maybe, but they were Dad was incredibly supportive. As I say, they were very amusing. When I went around faces, they just worried, But I think once 20, when I dropped out of Ulster University, which, funny enough, I ended up being the chancellor of, but really much to my sister's chagrin, because my three older sisters, the one thing they had on me, that I didn't get a degree. And so that even when I got successful, they were like, well, look, there's the three of us up on the wall in the gowns. And then I was given an honorary doctorate, an honorary degree, and then made chancellor. So there was two of me in gowns up there. But no, so they were just worried, I suppose, But once Dad said, right, we can afford for you to go to Central, Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. And I got in there. And then I never really looked back. I did 3 years there, and it was just fun, and I really enjoyed the acting. And then I started work the day after I left. I did a job, and I've done nothing else since. I've been very lucky. But I unquestionably had unquestionably instilled in me, for all my, I'm not a stranger to a glass of wine. I'm not a stranger to enjoying myself. But I unquestionably instilled in me was a work ethic. That thankfully has never really left me.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the sense that the success that you've had was absolutely due to the principles that your dad kind of instilled.
No, on question, exactly. But also, it's a lot to do with luck. I mean, it really is. I mean, Dad used to say, "You make your own luck, James." And what I think the principles I got from Dad and then people like Alex and stuff are about attitude. Attitude is everything. If be on time, know your lines, know other people's lines, treat it, and then the more successful you get, treat everyone who's kind of got a lesser role than you, or someone who's behind the camera, whatever they do, treat them the same. And then then you'll do okay. But yeah, luck's a lot.
What was the big break for you where you realized that this is something you could do as a career?
Well, there was a few really. I mean, funny enough, the first thing I did, as I say, I did a job, 2 days in a job the day after I left drama school. It was called a BBC film called Virtuoso. That was in 1988, and I worked with Alfred Molina. And I remember it was 250 quid a day in 1988. I mean, that's still good money. But I do remember thinking, all right, I can do this. But I was my nerves sometimes were expressed through talking too much.
Okay.
and Alison Steadman was on the job. Alison Steadman from Gavin and Stacey and stuff. She plays the mum and that. I mean, Fred Molina was great, but at the end of the second day, Alison Steadman said to me, "Do you have a twin brother?" I said, "No." She went, "Good." And that was quite a good lesson, because it made me think, yeah, I've been so nervous, I've been talking too much. But then I did a film called Hear My Song about Joseph Locke, the Adrian Dunbar, a very young Adrian Dunbar, from Line of Duty, co-wrote. And that did quite well in the business. But then I thought I was God's gift. I thought, that's it. And then I didn't work for a while. And then I really started getting at it. And I suppose the big break was really, of course, Cold Feet in a way. Yeah. But then I just worked and worked and worked. And I think it continually changed, in a sense, the path. I mean, agents are so important. I've had an agent for 25 years, and she was able to guide me in a lot of things. But, Cold Feet, unquestionably. Bloody Sunday made a huge difference in my life, in many ways. And I'm sure no one's really that interested or aware of it. But, I mean, I've said before that, Cold Feet certainly kind of gave me a public persona and help within the commercial end of the business, whereas Bloody Sunday changed certainly my view of acting. It also changed my view of where I come from, and it made I think other people maybe in different genres or kind of like cliques of the independent film industry think, all right, maybe he can do other stuff. But I mean, it's just work. Liam Neeson always says he's still getting away with it. But if you get up in the morning, like my mother used to say, James, if the sun rises, so must you. And I try and hold on to that.
That's very good advice. Great words to live by. Tell me this, going all the way back to the first audition you did and the first job that you did, which is more nerve-wracking, the first tee at the Irish Open or the first day on that job?
Oh God, first tee in the Irish Open. No, I'll tell you what's really nerve-wracking. First time I met Alex Ferguson, and the first time, I only met George Best once. Meeting George Best, I was in pieces. It was a chat show in Dublin. Actually, funny enough, it was a not long-lived chat show that Lester Piggott's daughter did in Dublin. And I arrived and I was in makeup and stuff before I went down to do it. And I was like, is he here? Is he here? Is he here? Because George was everything. Yeah. I had a George Best ring, a George Best necklace. My granny, Rainey, although she wasn't, we always had a granny that wasn't actually a granny. But she was my cousin's granny, and she'd knitted me a George Best thing. So George was sort of everything. Because if you're a boy growing up in the country with 3 older sisters and you kick a ball against the wall, the only poster I had on my wall was Man United, George Best, and Slade, funny enough. But then I went down into the green room, and there stood in front of me was this, smallish man, and he turned, and I just knew it was him, and he turned around and he went, "Oh, Jimmy Nesbitt, great to meet you." And that's the most nervous I've been. And so I'm more nervous. Acting doesn't make me nervous. I mean, and I don't mean that arrogantly, because if I feel, it's down to me in a way. you know. I know also I kind of do the work. The first of Mount Juliet that day was tough. I mean, also the first of the Dunhill, you know. The first time I played the Dunhill, Shane Warren, he then became a good friend of mine. That, you know, it's just so bad. It's just so inconceivable that Shane's gone. Every time I played the Dunhill, Shane would always make sure he was on the first tee. And just as I was driving to play, he'd go, "Four, Jimmy!" This doesn't help. The thing is, I'm probably more nervous. It's funny, I'm articulating this for the first time. I'm probably more nervous playing in Portrush with my mates in a comp than I am playing in front of thousands of people, because I'm just so desperate to beat them.
That's no matter what level of golf you play. I've spoken to tour pros who say the same thing.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I don't mind the pro-am thing. I mean, I'm nervous when I get there, but then when I'm on, I mean, I suppose I should be really used to that. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, if I'm an actor, I suppose there's somewhere I'm able to kind of ignite something, or not. I don't mean brilliance, but I mean kind of be okay. Whereas if I play with my mates, and if I'm hitting fourth off the first tee and they've all absolutely crushed it, then I'm in trouble.
You have to do the same, of course.
Then I'm in trouble, yeah.
You've mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson a few times. He's one of the few people in sport and in life who I think has a character and a persona that's larger than life. So obviously you're a Manchester United fan, so you were going to he's going to be endearing to you anyway, but he seems to have, from the conversation we've had previously, a huge impact on your life.
I know, and I find sometimes that when I talk about him, I only talk about him because it comes easy to me. But then if I play it back in my head, I can understand people will be going, "Oh my God, you name dropper, blah, 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 whatever." And it's not, I mean, it's really not the case at all. I mean, I qualify it by saying, "Oh my God, listen, I grew up when I met players that played for Ballymena and then Coleraine. If I still meet players who play for Coleraine, even though I sponsored the team, I kind of get a bit funny inside. So you can only imagine what it's like through the fortuitous nature of my life to have met loads of players. But yeah, I met him years ago. I mean, his son is probably one of my best friends. But he's been an incredible figure in my life. He's really, I consider him a mentor and a great friend. And he's also funny, charitable, but offers the best advice, you know. And I probably shouldn't say too much about it because I don't want to make it like that. But yeah, I mean, imagine. But I mean, there's a bit of me that wants to say, imagine him as Alex Ferguson, the plasterer from, you know, Port Stewart, as opposed to Alex Ferguson, manager, because they'd both be the same. That's both the same impact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great indictment of his character.
Oh no, is it? I mean, we were gutted about Rory.
Yes. So I think we get onto the golf as of late. You said you've played with Rory. You've met Rory a couple of times, have you?
Oh no, I worked for his foundation for a long time, and in fact, when he opened the Loch Earn years ago, when the Loch Earn resort opened, boy, it would have been 19, so that's 14 years ago. It was an exhibition between him and Padraig Harms, and I hosted it. And he was a young lad, 18, 19, and just the loveliest, you know.
How heartbreaking was it that he didn't get it done this week? I mean, I think everyone has said it was written in the stars. It was fated that he was going to do it.
Yeah,
it looked like he was. It looked like the prodigal return of Rory of old.
If someone birdies 5 holes in a row on the back nine, he's going to struggle. I mean, as he said after, I mean, the thing is, he had a foundation here for years. Now he's over in America, and I worked with it quite a bit. He's as good as it gets, that boy, in terms of just the way he has handled his life. His mum and dad are fantastic. You know, but he said himself, and also he's just so generous in the way he speaks. But also that shouldn't belie someone who's a competitor and wants it. You know, it's just sometimes these things happen. But he's been playing so well. But yeah, no, it was tough, man.
Did you watch much of it?
Oh, I watched all of it. I mean, the last day was beautiful. And funny enough, Alex phoned me in the morning and just said, right, here we go. Here's the boy. Because I actually interviewed when I worked for Roy's Foundation. One of the first big events we did was in Dublin when it was at the K Club. In fact, when Rory won that year. And I interviewed him the Wednesday night to raise money for, says something about Alex, actually, and something about Pep Guardiola, who did it the following year, where I interviewed Rory and one other person. And yeah, I mean, but you know, it's just so magnificent. It says so much about him that so much of the golfing world wants him to do well, and that's pressure, man. You know, and he's been doing so well. But you know, Jesus, every player I've ever played with, every single player I've ever played with, when I've asked them, who's the best? I mean, of course, someone will say Tiger, but I mean, every other person goes, oh, Rory. And, you know, that's a lot of pressure for a young man to carry. But yeah, Cam Smith did well. But also, I just think the way Rory handles himself is just magnificent.
I think the way he goes about his business every week is admirable. He's a real ambassador for the game, which he didn't necessarily need to become, but he fell into.
No, and he's and his mum and dad are great. Rosie, I've known for years. I mean, they're just great. And look, you know, always doesn't work out well, but he'll win more majors.
Onto your own golf. So you're saying
it's sensational.
Sensational, is it?
No.
Talk to me about how you kind of got bitten by the bug, or when did you really get into golf?
Well, when I started playing it. You know, I mean, that's the thing. You kind of are scared of golf. I mean, but it's so funny now at Portrush, where I spend most of my time. The kids at Portrush, they started young enough not to be scared by it in a way. You start a bit older, scared by it. I mean, you want to see. I was, as I said, I was at the north. But also my mates, Peter Ludlow, I mentioned there, one of his kids, George is, well, all the kids, all the 13-year-olds there, some of them are just amazing. But also they don't have the fear. I had fear, but I got into it, and it's my, you know, I'm not bad, to tell you the truth. In the last 4 months, in the last 2 months, my handicap has been 16. It's also been 5.3. Well, that was because I had one good round at Portrush, and with the new system, my handicap dropped from 16 to 5.3 overnight because I didn't have enough cards. And now I'm at 12. Thank God I got back up to 12. I mean, it's okay. So my golf's good. I mean, it's all right.
Do you get?
It's not consistent.
No, well, I mean, that's like every amateur golfer. That is the main problem.
Yeah.
Do you get to play, or do the clubs travel with you whenever you work?
Well, I play when I'm working. Yeah, I play a bit. No, but I've got clubs at Portrush where I'm a member, and where I now really am. But actually, funny enough, the other club I'm a member of now is in bizarrely in Royal. It's Royal Coventry. Oh no, it's just not Royal. It's Coventry. It's Finham, because one of my other best mates, Alan, lives in. It's a fantastic course. Anyone who watches this, if you get a chance, play Finham. And so I've got clubs there. But no, I play a good bit. You know, I mean, I've been lucky enough to travel a bit with it, and also get to kind of go and, you know, my mates. We've been to the Masters. We've done this, blah blah blah. But I also, I'm, you know, I'm 57 and I go to bed dreaming about golf. I didn't used to.
I'm 29 and I'm dreaming about golf.
Yeah, you should be dreaming of other things, Johnny.
well, you're in the right place to be waking up and going to play golf.
Yeah.
Portrush is an incredible place.
No, it's amazing. I played there. I play there all the time. I'll play tomorrow night in the Hat. I played. It's just fabulous, you know, because it's also a seaside town. And I've went there as a child all my life. and then I worked in the amusements. Now I'm a member of the course, but also now, again, as Northern Ireland evolves from its past, the world golf has kind of in a way shown the world the beauty of that part of the north of Ireland. And who knew that golf would actually, the pictures being by golf, would bring people who have no interest in golf to Portrush, and that's what I love about it. But it's a fantastic place. The course is wonderful. We've got great manager, great people, because it's like, the Open's coming back in 25, and that asks a lot of some of its members, but it means so much. Not only to it's probably more of a drain on the club in a way, for the Open coming. I say carefully, but for what it does for the area, it's a sensation. And the course is incredible.
It's one of the best in the world. Does this mean we're going to see you volunteering now in 2025? You have the lanyard on and everything.
Well, I'll certainly be there.
You won't be marshalling people through, no?
No, God, no. It's funny, when it was there the last time, my mate Carsey, he's the one person, funny enough, cycle. This is the one person I haven't mentioned of the four of us. He was doing the ropes on the 18th when, because all the members wanted to do something, didn't matter what age they are.
Of course.
He was sort of doing the ropes, and when Shane hit his second into 18, he just threw the rope down, because just the crowd was incredible.
So he's the one that let the crowds run through, is he? Yeah. Jesus, he won't be allowed to do it again.
Yeah, he shouldn't be. And also Peter Ludlow, one of the other ones, he was driving Dustin Johnson around on the practice days, and he was so impressed with driving Dustin that he went completely the wrong way. And Dustin DJ said to him, "Pardon me, sir, I think we're going the wrong way." So, these are my buffoon friends.
I was at the Open in 2019 as well, the Thursday and Friday. God, it was incredible, from the Rory on Thursday to the Rory on Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Different place, really.
Yeah,
just the atmosphere.
I think he'll win the Open at St Andrews. You have it here. I'm recording it. I think Rory will win the Open at St Andrews.
They're saying 2030 is when it's going to be there next.
I think he'll win the Open at St Andrews.
Wow. This year might have been his year, unfortunately.
He'll only be 41. Look how fit he is.
Yeah.
Every great golfer, some not necessarily kind of like icons. Some not considered amazing golfers win there. Some great golfers haven't won there. But mark my words, Betty wins at St Andrews.
You very subtly mentioned the fact that you'd been to the Masters, which is an experience that most people won't get to experience in their life. What's that like? Speaking of someone that will most likely not get to go to the Masters.
Well, Johnny, speak nicely to me, you never know. The Masters it's incredible. If you're going with your three mates, it's quite messy, but it's also incredible. The place is extraordinary. Do you see an awful lot of golf? You spend all day there, but the crowds are so huge. But you see it. It's incredible. It's incredible, but I think a lot of that is just the walking in there and the being there. I'd say it's a downside more incredible to play there than necessarily to be there for 4 days as a spectator. Having said that, it's wonderful. The place is extraordinary. And also I saw Shane get a hole-in-one there. We saw Willett win there. Saw Rory. We saw Patrick Reed win there. We got to go to. It's amazing. But we went a couple of times, and I know. Listen, God, I know I'm blessed for that. But having been to Ryder Cups and the Open, I think almost that's what I would rush to now, rather than that again.
Well, what makes so I haven't got to go to a Ryder Cup. I'm going to go to the Italian Open this year as a location scout for next year's Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
But which Ryder Cups have you been at?
I was bizarrely an ambassador at Gleneagles.
Wow.
They have this idea, and all that was fantastic.
Good year. And, good year to be an
ambassador. Really good year. Yeah, we got to be inside the ropes. It was fun. And Alex was there, of course. No, it was just brilliant. But to be able to up close and to see it is amazing. But also just that, I loved it. But also, I also, there is something, purists might disagree with me, but there's something incredible about watching golf on telly as well. I mean,
oh yeah,
if you've got a few mates around and you're watching it, and you're all, that notion of being right there and seeing, there's a couple of putts Rory had there the other day, that just were, inches from an open. So there's a lot, and also I love so many of the commentators now. I think people like Coulthard and stuff are just fabulous. They're really bringing the drama home to you.
For sure. So you're surrounded by a lot of incredible golf courses in and around Northern Ireland, up where you're living. Do you ever? Is it all links all the time, Portrush only, or do you venture down?
No,
to
play. No, I'll be playing the K Club soon again at Ronan Keating's Mary Keating Day. I go down to that every year, which I love. And the K Club's class.
Yeah, really
love that. But most of the things, I've played by Liffin and the Hinge, and but there's plenty still to play. I play a lot of Parkland in England. I'm almost better where I can see like a wide open sea and horizon and no trees than I am. as difficult as, even if the wind is up, I'm happier seeing kind of like infinity rather than seeing trees.
How would you describe your golf game?
When it's good, it's really good. But it's like I have to play badly. I have to start badly to kind of ignite the thing in me that makes me fight back. And my mates would say that I'm a pretty good fighter, and I've got to learn to start well. But I'm getting there.
So is the worst thing for you to start with a birdie, is it?
No, that would be great. No, I start I played in the comp the other day, 4 dings at Portrush, and the comp 4 dings to start with. Then you're like, but then that kind of makes me go, right, well, you need to do something. But it's getting there, it's getting there.
I've taken up enough of your time, but I'd like to finish it on this, if that's all right. Cool. So you've got to play some incredible courses, play with some incredible people, and meet some incredible people through the game of golf. What's going to bed now tonight, or going to bed on any night? Is there one memory or one moment from you on the golf course, whether with family or with friends, with whoever, that sticks longest in your memory?
Wow, good question. It sticks longest in my memory. It's probably at Monterey, my best mate, Peter Ludlow. And it was only an eagle, but it was 230 on about the 5th, 230 yard second. And I was about 100 yards up, and as he hit it, I was just in between. As he hit it, and the ball went past me, I shouted at him, "That's in!" And I watched the ball go up. He hit a perfect shot, and he got a 2 on a very hard hole in Monterey, and we were able to share it. That was good.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, James Nesbitt. A pleasure to have you on.
Johnny, my pleasure. Take care.
On the tee, Jack Nicklaus.
This is the minute that millions around the world have waited for.
We will allow you to enjoy all of this. They are dancing in the pubs of Dublin. Harrington with an ace.
And we have a shining star at sunset. Rory continues his run to greatness.
The return to glory.